When I was 16, for my 16th birthday, my grandma calls me up one day and says, hey, I'm going to send you to youth camp. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to go to youth camp, but, you can't say no to grandma. And so one of those kind of obligation things, I pack up my stuff and go for a week of Christian youth camp. There was something different, though, at that camp that I don't know if I had ever seen before, or if I had, maybe I just blocked it out, but there was a genuineness to the worship of those who were there. That when they would worship, they threw themselves into it, and they weren't pretending to be anybody they weren't. They just owned who they were. And they told their stories, and they owned their stories, and they talked about how messed up they were, and the choices that they had made, and the issues that they dealt with, and they were just real people. And I remember just coming into that place and just so appreciating that. And I remember 3 days into this camp, it was a Wednesday night, I remember it very clearly. In the middle of this intense worship time, I look around at all these people just seeking God, hands lifted up in the air, crying out to Him. And I thought, I want that. I want that. And so I said to myself, and I said to God, all right, God, you're there, and I see all these people, they obviously have something with you. I want to know. I want you to show me. I want you to speak to me. I want to know. And I heard this voice in the back of my head say, close your eyes. I was like, no, that's silly. And then I heard it again, close your eyes. And I was like, come on, I'm just making this up. This is goofy. I'm getting swept up in the emotionality of this whole business with all these Christians. And I heard it again, close your eyes. And so I closed my eyes. And there standing before me was a man. But he wasn't like a man like you or me or anybody else. It was, the only way I can think to describe him is if you were to take like a solid beam of sunlight and compress it into solid form. Just this gleaming, shining man standing before me. And he spread his arms out and shined like the noonday sun. And he said, I'm here. I'm real. I love you. And you're mine. Now, this just tripped me out, and it wasn't until years later that I was reading in the book of Revelation that I realized who I had seen in that moment. He took another step towards me. He said, I'm here, I'm real, I love you, and you are mine. And I thought to myself, okay, this is just getting weird. I'm really just getting swept up in all this stuff. These Christians are rubbing off on me too much. This can't be. This cannot be real. This cannot be what I think it is. But it tripped me out. And I heard it again. I'm here. I'm real. I love you. And you are mine. And I stood there, and as he came closer to me, I remember my eyes just being absorbed. And years later, this is what I read in the book of Revelation. It says this, I turned to see the voice that was speaking to me, and when I turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands, and among them was someone like a son of man, dressed in a robe reaching down to his feet, a golden sash around his chest. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars, and out of his mouth came a double-edged sword. His face was like the sun, shining in all of its brilliance. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. Then he placed his hand on me and said, don't be afraid. I am the first and the last, the living one. I was dead, and behold, I am alive now and forevermore. I read that passage years after that moment, and I said, I saw the Son of God. In that moment, in that vision, he continued to step towards me, repeating those words, I'm here, I'm real, I love you, and you are mine, until he was right in front of me, chest to chest, face to face, arms stretched out, and he repeated it one more time and wrapped his arms around me, and I felt real physical arms around my shoulders. In my humanity, I opened my eyes and stepped back, because I thought one of these Christians was hugging on me in the middle of this worship service. And I wasn't down with that. And when I opened my eyes, there was no one there. No one within 4 feet of me. And I heard it again, close your eyes. And when I closed my eyes, he was still there. He said, I'm here, I'm real, I love you, and you are mine. So it was at that camp that I really rededicated my life to the Lord. The very next night, I had another vision in which God called me into ministry. And I knew that I was supposed to serve him all my days. I didn't know how, I didn't know where, I didn't know what. But when I got out of there, when I got home, like I said, everything was the same. And it took God making the change for me to begin to really, truly seek that plan that he had for me.